Bernard Tobin here at the Agricultural Excellence Conference in New Brunswick, and joined now by Terry Betker from Backswath Management. Terry, thanks for joining me. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, well, I'm keen to do this. So yeah, I'd love to talk about peer groups.
Peer groups, yeah. So you've just done your presentation. You're building a peer group. That advisory group. Want to dig into it, but give us a picture of the landscape. How wide dispersed and how many peer groups do we have in Canada?
Formal peer groups, I think there are not a great number in Canada. But the concept of peer groups isn't new. There's peer groups been in business for years and years, and I think there's a lot of farmers that work within what really is a peer group. It's just not formally understood as a peer group. They have their connections, but I'm going to say there's just they'll be in the couple of dozen sort of thing that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of a ton of them.
Now, you facilitate.
Yes.
You build, facilitate groups. Talk about why farmers should get involved in a group.
Well, I think if a farmer is looking for a forum where they can talk to other farmers about sensitive issues, opportunities, challenges, it has a lot to do with their management mindset. If they're open to how they can advance their management practices and what other farmers might be doing, because they're all in the same general industry, whether they might be a dairy or a grain operation or a potato farmer, vegetable farmer. It's all management. It's all business management. And so I think someone would be interested in looking at a peer group if they wanted to talk to other farmers and gain those people's insights into how they've dealt with some of the issues that particular farm might be trying to understand.
You talked about peer groups, good times and bad times. There's benefits.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually a quote from Danny Kleinfelder about when farmers can benefit best from participating in a peer group, and he says, in two times. It's when times are good and when times are bad. Because when times are good, we kind of tendency is to get a little relaxed in what's going on, and a peer group would challenge the farmers in that group to be so-called on their management toes. And the accountability to go to a meeting and talk about how they're managing their business and hear how other people are in the group are talking about managing their business helps them to keep kind of ahead of the game when it comes to the management. So that's when the good times. In the bad times, if there's issues, and there are a lot of them, unfortunately, it's just part of the business. How do other farmers deal with that? Because I think everybody has dealt with hard times, and it helps some farmers, my observation, in a peer group, to be able to go to talk to other people and say, we're dealing with this, we're not doing a good job here, or this has happened to us, and what do others think? So it's a forum to hear and gain insight into management when the times are good or when the times are bad.
Yeah. You mentioned you set up your first peer group probably 12 years ago, and you've been involved in it ever since. Talk about what makes a good peer group. What are we tackling? What are we agreeing to talk about and discuss? What does everybody bring to the table?
I think what makes a good peer group are two or three key things. We have to get trust within the people. Because you could have a peer group where everybody knows each other, but I think the peer group benefits from a little bit of diversity where people don't know each other, where you may be aware of who that person is or what that farm is, but you really have never talked to them about what's going on in their business. So if we take the approach that there's some people that are at a peer group that don't really know each other's operations, then we got to get that level of trust. So those relationships form, we get to the trust, and then with that, the farmers can open up, become, the word is vulnerable, to admit that, hey, I could do better. And there are other farmers that maybe are doing better in some areas. I think those are key components to a peer group.
Talk about, some of the things we'll tackle. You've in a peer group, you've talked about benchmarks, business opportunities, shared management, all kinds of things. What are some of the typical things we say?
I see a lot of the discussion is around just pretty common business challenges. What do we pay for rent? How should we finance that part of our business? How do we deal with this management issue? How do we deal with family? So you can draw family into it. So you can have. I know in the groups that I'm most closely familiar with, while they're not groups that are purposed specifically for transition or succession, a lot of those discussions come into it. How do we deal with that? So a peer group can be very singularly focus on one management issue. I happen to really like the ones that are broadly focused, and anything that's on anybody's mind that's either an opportunity or a challenge or a problem or however they want to speak to it, they can come and present it to the peer group and expect to walk away with some insight from other farms. Right. I hadn't thought about that.
Final question for you, and there's some tips on how to set them up. Obviously it's not the simplest process, but you've been doing it for more than a decade. How do you start the process?
So if the group can find someone that would help them to organize it, then that's an option. But let's just say that a group of farmers want to form their own group. I think it's a matter of getting 2 or 3 farmers together and say they want to form a peer group, do a little bit of research into what that might look like, and then actually have a meeting. And the more formal they can make that peer group structure, the more formal the meetings are with agendas and stuff, and I think it enhances the benefit that will accrue from the meeting. But I also think after that first meeting, where you may have just 2 or 3 people, that 2 or 3 people will know 2 or 3 people, and you'll broaden the network out, and you'll get your group to form.
And you mentioned, I guess, to make a real good peer group, everybody's got to bring something to the table. And you said everybody has to say, "I'm here to help, but I expect to get help."
Yes. Oh, it's there's 2 sides to that equation. People absolutely. My observations for what makes a peer group really function optimally is where the people come expecting to, like you said, expecting to make a contribution to the discussion and to gain insight and take away something or things that they can apply back to their business. I think that's foundational to a peer group. It can't be all one-sided. You can't have. I don't think a peer group would last long if we had members that were just wanting to take from the group. It's a peer group. You got to find your peers and then engage in a dialogue around management, and there's got to be give and take.
Right. Terry, great insights. Thank you for dropping by. Appreciate your time.
Well, I love talking about peer groups, so thank you for asking me.
Great stuff.
Okay, bye.